Hi, Internet. Welcome to Wow of True, the podcast of your wildest memes.
We're your one-stop internet culture shop, here to dissect what's going viral, why we care, and how this might affect our real human lives. I'm your registered attorney in good standing in the state of New York, Isabel.
Woo! I'm Amanda, Bachelor of English. Anyone could be famous on the internet, so why not us?
Yeah, so I'm finally registered in New York. It took me literally a year. We can finally change our branding.
I know, I'm so excited, like, mostly for the branding aspect. Like, I'm excited for you, that's great for you. But this really helps hammer home our branding of, instead of being, like, law guy, Isabel, it's like, we have a digital culture reporter and extremely online attorney, lawyer, telling you about the internet.
Yeah, like, honestly, our brand is so much stronger now.
I know, like, we've been waiting a year for this brand. It's all about the brand. Isabel went to law school and, like, passed the bar and got a job at a law firm. Like, it's all for the brand, baby.
It's all for the podcast. I am on my grind set 24/7, bringing you content.
Speaking of Isabel being a lawyer, we're gonna show off your, hot, cool law people knowledge.
Yeah, so we're starting off with some hashtag legal drama, but also some hashtag internet drama, and
also hashtag book drama, and that's kinda, we like books, the internet, and law stuff, because then you can explain it to us. Like, perfect.
yeah, perfect storm of stuff. Oh, and now that I'm actually, like, registered and shit, like, I'm actually, like, a lawyer, I can say I'm a lawyer. It's a long story. There's a lot of hoops you need to jump through in New York, and also I hate emailing people, which is why this took so long.
Yeah, you can't say you're a lawyer. Like, even if you pass the bar, you still have to do a ton of paperwork, and it took Isabel, like, a year to do the paperwork,
Okay.
and now here we are.
In my defense,
it wasn't you. It was that bureaucracy is slow.
Yo, literally, I sent my stuff in, and it took them 3 months to get back to me, and before that, New York actually wants you to get recommendations from, like, 10 people, so I had to email, like, 10 people, all of whom have, like, jobs and shit, and, like, other stuff to do. Anyway, it's fine. We're here now.
I can't believe you didn't email me for a character recommendation.
In my defense, you don't fucking live in New York.
That you're so true. You're so right, bestie.
Yeah, come on. Like, this is on you for living in Philadelphia.
Damn.
Oh, so now I have to do, like, a little disclaimer-y thing. This is not legal advice. I am not your lawyer.
I can give you Bachelor of English advice.
Give me some Bachelor of English advice right now.
So, to pull back the curtain here, we actually recorded this earlier today, but then one of us, we won't say who.
Oh, it was me.
Did not.
It was me.
Yeah. Isabel didn't press record, so we lost it all, and now we're redoing it, and I'm like, damn, we're making the same jokes. And in the first recording, I was like, you don't have to read Moby Dick. But now I'm like, what's other literary device?
You could have replicated a joke. Nobody's heard the first joke except for me, and I still think it's funny, because I love talking shit.
Okay, well, I think I haven't read Moby Dick, and I don't intend to. That's my literary advice.
So your advice is to not read Moby Dick?
Yeah. I think Bartleby the Scrivener is Herman Melville's best work, and it's, like, the only one I've read, but it slaps. We stan Bartleby.
Honestly, I feel like Bartleby is honestly hashtag life goals.
Oh yeah, Bartleby's so girl boss. So basically, here's the Bachelor of English advice.
Bartleby the Scrivener on our internet culture podcast. Look me in the eye and say that that's what we're doing today.
But okay, so the TLDR, it's a short story about a guy named Bartleby who works in an office.
He's a scrivener.
He's a scrivener. And then when they ask him to do stuff, he just starts saying, I'd prefer not to. And then all the other people are like, what do we do about this? And he's just like chilling. He's just like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. It's very like girl boss, but in an anti-capitalist way. And I love Bartleby. He's great. We love him.
I feel like Bartleby the Scrivener is on, like, the opposite end of, like, an axis from Kafka's The Metamorphosis in how capitalism affects you, and you stop doing work in relation to it.
Yeah.
When he turned into a bug, he was like, oh god, I'm a bug, how do I do my shit? Because I'm a bug now.
Yeah, but Bartleby's just like, I don't know, man, I think working in an office, it's not for me anymore.
I will, however, be standing here.
Yeah, so that's basically my literary hot take of the day. That was a little more in-depth than just saying Moby Dick sucks. I know a lot of people like Moby Dick. It's okay if you like Moby Dick. I haven't read it. Who am I? I've read Emoji Dick.
I've read Moby Dick and it kind of sucks. Hot take.
Well, because I wrote a paper about it in the class where we met, Poetry in a Digital Culture, because there was someone who, using Amazon Turk, which is like a cheap labor mill on the internet that's really ethically and morally corrupt, asked people for like a small amount of money, like horrible amount of money, to translate Moby Dick into emojis, and then he published it as Emoji Dick. And so I wrote about Emoji Dick.
Emoji Dick as a title is extremely good. Anyway, so we're talking classic literature. We're also talking Emoji Dick. And you know where you can probably find all of this shit? The Internet Archive. Fucking killed that segue. I should stop talking about when we do segues, but like whenever we do a good one, I always get really excited inside, where I'm like, yes, we're getting a good grade in segues, something that is possible to achieve and normal to want. Anyway, so here's what's going on. Here's what I'm going to use my law degree to talk about. Hachette versus the Internet Archive, which is a case that began basically in June 2020-ish. Arguably, the shit that led up to the case started in March. What happened in March of 2020? And it is now going to summary judgment soon. No, did you want to take some guesses of
what did happen in March 2020?
Well, we got a cease and desist letter from SEPTA.
That did happen in March 2020. I went to a Pi Day party, and that was my last social engagement for a long time. But I can't remember why that was my last social engagement for a long time. Something must have happened in the second half of March 2020 in the United States. I just don't know what it is, but continue.
Simply have no idea. Joke's on you. It was the pandemic, which is still happening.
I really didn't think we had to spell that one out, but continue.
Because I'm going to talk about it, so it felt weird to, like, continue the bit.
Okay, fine. Continue.
The case started in June 2020, and it is now going to summary judgment soon, which is basically the plaintiff and defendant will, like, argue about, like, here's why, judge, you should say I did good and the other side did bad, and I'm cool and I should get XYZ. And if the judge doesn't grant summary judgment, it will go to a jury trial. And fun fact for everybody listening who is not a lawyer, basically the difference here is that the judge would be deciding shit, like, based on law, and then a jury would be deciding stuff based on fact. So if the judge is like, yeah, we got enough, like, legal technicalities here where I can decide, cool, and all the facts make sense, I'll decide. But the jury has to decide if it's like, so what actually happened?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I feel like in this case it feels pretty black and white, but speaking of girl bosses, I'm so sorry I've said girl boss like twice already on this podcast. We have to start recording a third time.
The girl boss less cut.
Yeah, but I genuinely do find it really interesting that Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos
God fucking damn it. Okay, go on.
So she and Sunny Balwani, the COO, were supposed to be tried together, but then Elizabeth's team won a motion to, like, separate the cases because she alleged that he had been abusive toward her and didn't want to be in court with him. Mm-hmm. And the judge granted that, so they did 2 separate trials on the same counts. Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth Holmes was found guilty on 4 out of 11 counts. 1 got thrown out. And those 4 counts were all based on defrauding investors.
Nice.
And then
girl boss
Sunny Balwani guilty on all 12 counts.
That's pretty funny.
And, like, because there was a different jury for both cases, so it's, like, it's really interesting, I think, as someone who is not a legal professional, but, like, why do you think this happened? Like, they both arguably were complicit, but Elizabeth Holmes testified in her own criminal fraud trial, and she's someone who has that weird X factor of getting people to feel bad for her, or, like,
to get people to give her things, honestly. Let's be real.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, I think the jury maybe felt a little bit bad for her.
I could see that happening, especially since it's, like, low-key, I do think there is an element of pretty young woman getting manipulated that I think it makes her sympathetic to juries. But, hey, we're not here to talk about girl bosses. We're here to talk about the opposite of that, which is books.
I'm so sorry for derailing this podcast. So, books.
We're talking about books, which is the opposite of girl boss.
Yeah.
It's not. Books are very girl boss. Yeah, okay, let me actually explain what the hell is going on here. Mm-hmm. So, what's going on here is basically the Internet Archive has been sued by a bunch of publishers. And the reason for that is because the Internet Archive is putting books online. This is the 5 million foot level explanation. What's actually happening here is, let's take 4 steps back and explain the actual players here. And let's actually take a 5th step back and say that we care about this right now because it's going to summary judgment, and also because there was a bunch of discourse on Twitter about it. And I think what's really interesting here is that there's no super clear ethical take on it, if that makes sense, because a lot of the people who are angry about this are authors who are like, authors should get money. But then a lot of the other people are like, but the Internet Archive is a good resource, and also people should have access to content.
Yeah, so for Craig at home, what is the Internet Archive?
All right, so the Internet Archive is a quote-unquote nonprofit library of millions of free books, movies, software, music, websites, and more. What you might be most familiar with is the Wayback Machine, which lets you see web pages at timestamps from the past.
I love the Wayback Machine. It's honestly an asset to journalists.
Yeah, so like, you know, they do cool shit, good stuff. What we care about here is the fact that they digitize books and lend them out using something they called quote-unquote controlled digital lending. Because they call themselves a library, I mean, as in they are a library, and what they do is basically they take a physical book, or they partner with libraries who do this, and they basically scan it into the computer and upload it online, and then people can now check out that digitized book. And when people check out that digitized book, the physical book is considered checked out. So that makes sense, right? Like, this is a very much a one-to-one ratio. And that's the reason why publishers were, like, not happy about this, but were kind of allowing it to happen for a long time. So to explain why this is weird, because this seems like actually a very, like, sensible thing, right? Like, it's like, let's digitize a book and now people can read it. But what actually usually happens for how libraries lend ebooks is, like, usually a library will, like, lease a book, an ebook, with like X amount of uses, which is a total artificial scarcity cap that is being made by either the publisher or like third parties, because this is one of those situations where you have a resource that is infinitely replicable that people want to keep artificially scarce, because otherwise there's no way to have a market under capitalism for it. Did that make sense? Do you think Craig would understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, artificial scarcity, for example, when women are pitted against each other in the workplace because of the belief that there can only be a finite amount of marginalized people being successful, but in reality we're all better if we work together instead of against each other. Like that.
That was a really dramatic example. Are you doing okay?
I'm doing okay, but me, like, 5 years ago isn't.
That's fair. I mean, who among us was doing okay 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years ago was a weird time. Anyway, continue.
So, publishers don't love that the Internet Archive is doing this. It is not something that they enjoy. And this, I mean, the controlled digital lending. But it was something they were willing to tolerate until the Internet Archive in March of 2020, for some reason, stopped doing a one-to-one ratio, and in order to give more people more access to books, basically said, okay, yeah, sure, as long as we have a physical copy, anyone can take out the digital copy in as many multiples as possible. That was kind of a weird way to say it.
Basically, like, there's no limit to how many people can take out the book
limitless
at once.
lending. And then the publishers were like, oh shit, and this is why they brought the case a month later. So, like I said, this is relevant now 2 years later because I wonder what's still happening. But that's a lie. They actually shut down the program because publishers were getting mad earlier than they meant to shut it down. But the whole concept of this whole case and the kind of the universe of the case blew up on writer Twitter last week. And now to clarify, it doesn't really mean anything when stuff blows up on writer Twitter. Something is always blowing up on writer Twitter.
Yeah, and then it's one of those things where it's like 5 people care, but because you're a writer on Twitter, it feels like everyone cares.
Yeah.
But we do care, because this is a genuinely interesting conundrum.
Yeah, so like this is kind of one of the more interesting writer Twitter discourses, I think, and I think it blew up a little more than usual because there's more sides for people to be on, if that makes sense, and a lot of those sides have to do with like whether you consume a lot of content versus create a lot of content versus how much you know about the legal system and how much you know about how the Internet Archive works.
Yeah, and I think we know that on the internet, people are not lawyers, unless if they are lawyers, and law is complicated, and also people don't understand how fair use works.
Exactly. And because of that, people have been doing massive amounts of discourse, which we will get to in a second, but let's actually talk about what's going on in the case first, because it's kind of interesting. It's not as interesting as the discourse.
I have a question first, which is, so is the Internet Archive still just doing, like, balls to the wall? Like,
no.
Do whatever you want? Or are they back to the one-to-one?
They're back to the one-to-one, which I think was always their original plan.
So the case is basically about, like, was it okay that they did that? And did publishers lose money because of it? And is that something that can be, like, litigated?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, I get it now.
Yay. Yeah, see, that's the law, and that's understanding the law. Yes, it's about
learning.
Publishers being like, yeah, we were harmed because by doing this, they caused harm to us, because that's, like, free shit that we didn't not get to sell. That's kind of, like, the highest level of saying that. But basically, this is a copyright case, and we've talked about copyright on the show, like, multiple times, because go listen to Bad Art Friend if you haven't, because I think that's the best one, where we explain things.
Do writers not care about my kidney?
No.
Damn.
What does the writing community have to say about your kidney?
I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but remember when I got COVID at a poetry event because, like, of course.
That was very toxic of the writing community to do to you.
Yeah, the writing community is, like, so infectious, you know? At that event, it was, like, famous writers on stage, and then the audience pre-submitted questions to be read. They were, like, funny questions. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like an advice panel, kind of. But anyway, the point of this is that one of the crowd-submitted questions was, who is the bad art friend? And I've never seen 4 people on stage so horrified to speak, knowing that whatever they say is about to be quoted on Twitter, and that the discourse is gonna start again, and, like, I don't know. My hot take is that we're all the bad art friend. Anyway, what were you gonna say? I'm a Bachelor of English, Isabel.
I'm just picturing, like, people on the stage getting asked a question about the bad art friend, and then, like, the palpable fear in their faces of getting canceled by Twitter. And that's just bringing me a lot of, like, joy, because it seems extremely funny.
It was great, but no one can cancel Carmen Machado on Twitter because she's too great. She was also wearing a dress from TikTok that looked like a moth, but, like, in a really cool way. It was great. Wish I didn't get COVID, but continue.
Okay, so other ways that the writing community is toxic other than in giving Amanda COVID. That's not what I was going to talk about. What I was going to talk about is here's what's going on in the case. Right, case.
Yes.
So Hetchet's argument, the publisher's argument, is essentially that this is not fair use, that, like, CDL, because I'm just going to start saying CDL instead of controlled digital lending. It's not cool. It's not fair use. It's kind of fucky and you shouldn't do it. There's some actual legal stuff here, but that's not fun to talk about.
You could call it unfair use.
Boo. And even if it is fair use, then, well, the Internet Archive is breaking their own rules because, hey, you fucking gave it to everybody. And your CDL situation was supposed to be 1-to-1, and that's why we were cool with it. This is not actually their argument. Their argument is in a lot more legalese and a much more of an if-then statement, but this is kind of the essence of their argument. And this is not a lawyer podcast. This is an internet podcast. The other question here is that, and then this kind of goes into the Internet Archive's point, is, okay, so let's say it is infringing. Is there an exception that makes it okay? So then what the Internet Archive would be arguing here, and is arguing, is that, no, bitch, shut the fuck up. This is fair use. This is transformative. What we're doing by taking piece of paper and scanning it is transformative. This is a specific thing that you can do under fair use. And we've talked about that. Go listen to our other podcasts.
I don't really buy that, though. I don't think a scan of a book page is transformative enough.
Well, so the interesting thing is that transformative is just like a weird phrase that they use to mean a lot of things, quite frankly, at this point. And you're just trying to get the judge to agree with you that it's transformative. And transformative really just means that it's being used for a different purpose, or it's being, like, taken out of, like, context. For example, like, Google Books, putting books on Google Books and having, like, previews with large chunks of it whited out is considered transformative.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is a previously litigated case, and that's how the court came out.
Damn, that's fucking wild.
Right? It's super weird. Copyright's super fun. I wish I did more IP. And then the other thing that they would be arguing is that, okay, actually, so fine, maybe it wasn't transformative, but there's a pandemic, and shit's fucked, and there was no harm, and we were justified in thinking that's okay. This is dead-ass their argument, except in better words.
Yeah, so my other question is, the publishing industry is confusing because people that work in publishing get paid really badly, and it's kind of falls victim to the whole idea of, like, oh, people are passionate about books, and if you work in a field that you're passionate about, then we can pay you less because we're evil.
Yes.
It feels like book sales aren't always great, and then, like, right now, HarperCollins workers are on strike. I think it's because their union contract.
Yeah, it's about their union contract.
Yeah, so HarperCollins workers are on strike because they're trying to get their union contract agreed upon. And on one hand, I get it that publishing is a bit precarious and losing out on some profit is a big deal, especially if it impacts authors. But also, like, don't they have enough money? Like, why are they why are they suing this internet nonprofit and, like, trying to get money from them?
Amanda, no corporation ever has enough money. Come on.
You're so right. You're so right, bestie.
We live in a capitalist society, Amanda. No, so there's two parts to this here. First of all, I think what's like the ethically cool thing for people to be doing here, which I think is actually an interesting question and we should talk about. The other thing here is why would they do this? And the reason they would do this is because it sets precedent. And basically, like, in the tone of adult life is so goddamn weird, digital media is so goddamn weird. In the way that it gets, like, I don't want to say legislated here, but, like, the laws and, like, the legal norms around digital media are kind of fucky in a lot of ways. And this is because a lot of the laws for media were based on an analog society. And law is based on precedent, so whatever you did in the past has to carry on to the future.
I can't imagine a legal document that is really old and then people fail to use it to apply to modern day situations. I can never imagine that happening.
Right, like, you know, this could never happen. This is a foreign concept to the American society.
Yeah, like, it would be so wild if, like, there was a legal document that people upheld as, like, the highest form of law, but that legal document was written in an era when people thought that slavery was, like, totally fine and normal and not, like, the most evil thing humanity has done in the world. Like, I don't know. I mean, feels like that would be so weird if people used a document like that to legislate, for example, people's bodies in the year 2022.
So, Craig, as you can see, we're working through some stuff because 2022 is a hellscape.
I'm fine. I'm doing great. Everything's fine.
But yeah, did that kind of answer your question of why they're doing this? To some extent.
I guess, so my other question, which I think the answer to this is because corporations are evil, Amanda, but, like, so I get the publisher's point that, like, the one-to-one lending makes sense. It's not really hurting anyone, but this, like, infinite lending kinda, it's a little fucky, as you would say. Mm-hmm. Is there a possible solution where the judge is just like, hey, Internet Archive, don't do that. Here I am setting the precedent of, like, don't do that, but also, like, you're not gonna have to pay a huge fine or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the judge can do whatever the judge wants, right? Like, the judge can...
I feel like that would be the best outcome.
Well, the judge can say whatever the judge wants, and as long as they can justify it based on their argument, right?
Yeah.
But I think, like, what you're asking for here is more of a, here's what you should do going forward, here's what's, like, makes things cool for everybody, and I don't know if we're gonna get a here's what makes things cool in the most ethical manner, because that's, like, not really what law is about. Law is just about, like, okay, like, what's legal? Because the legal question is not really about, like, what's ethically correct, who benefits the best from XYZ, and more is this in compliance with the law. But, like, I think the question of, like, is this a cool thing to do? What should happen? Is a more interesting question because I think it taps into a lot of the author anxieties about copying work. And now we're going to circle back to the internet because we kind of moved away from the internet, but now we're back at the internet.
Hi, internet.
I think this blew up because authors get very anxious about people copying their shit and also pirating their shit. Because, first of all, most of the people talking about this case don't understand the case, and that's just how the internet is, and that's okay. And the second thing is that a lot of people don't understand what the Internet Archive is doing. And because of these two things, people are both worried about, oh shit, they're gonna take out the free content and the Internet Archive is gonna die. Or also, oh shit, my stuff is going to be publicly available on the Internet Archive, and people are going to be able to just freely copy it and pirate it, essentially, without me getting any sort of compensation. So these two anxieties, I think, colliding are why people were discoursing.
If the judge decided it's okay if you own one book, that anyone can borrow it as much as possible at the same time, that would be really bad for authors.
Yeah, because that would be, essentially, that's like, basically, yeah, piracy is cool and good. Although, okay, can I do a segue here and talk about when I think piracy is cool and good?
Yes.
Yes, because, okay, we talked about this in the first record, and I think it's important enough that I'm going to talk about it in the second.
Oh, yeah, I think this was, like, the highlight of our first recording.
Oh, obviously, you know, out of all the things we talked about. First of all, I think it's always ethical to pirate books if the author is a TERF. I think you can pirate Harry Potter as many times as you want. I think that is praxis.
If you Google Harry Potter PDF, like, you're fine. Pirate from TERFs, it's fine.
I think you should always pirate from TERFs. Second, I think you should always pirate textbooks. Because the textbook industry is a scam and they upcharge like a motherfucker, and also I hate them, and also I have had to buy so many goddamn overpriced textbooks. in my years at college and law school, I think you should get to do this, and this does not actually hurt anybody.
Especially if you're, like, an undergrad who has no money, or a grad student who has no money and is, like, struggling through the confines of academia. Like, get free shit. Who cares?
Exactly.
But not from writers that are, like, living writers who are just trying to make a living. But textbooks, yes.
Textbooks, yes. And also, you know who else you can take stuff from? Dead people. I think it's always okay to pirate dead authors' works because they are dead and now they don't need any money.
Wow. I wonder, I mean, there probably is, but a textbook written by a dead TERF.
I mean, who knows what lies in the hearts of men, right?
Yeah. So damn, I feel like that's like the trifecta of piracy.
Yeah, like, if you want to be the most ethical pirate, I think that's the guy you're pirating from.
A dead TERF textbook writer.
Okay, so I think to find that, it would be dead, like, gender theory from, like... So, somebody who did, like, gender shit.
But, like, in a bad way.
Yeah, but, like, I feel like if you're looking in the gender area, you can probably find someone who was a TERF who wrote a textbook, right?
And who's dead.
Who's dead.
Okay.
And if they're not dead, you can kill them.
Now that you're a lawyer, is it okay that you keep threatening to murder people on our podcast?
I think it's probably okay as long as it's clear that it's a joke.
Okay, it's clear that it's a joke. Isabel's joking, so I guess we just now have to wait to see what this judge decides, and people will be angry about it.
Yeah, no matter what happens, I think people will be angry, but I also think that whatever happens, it will be kind of a technical legal decision rather than something that has, like, extremely far-reaching consequences. But either the judge will decide or it will move to a jury trial. It's likely going to be a jury trial. Do not quote me on this. And this is because it's a super fact-intensive case. So it's like, there's a lot of moving parts. It's not really a question of law as much as it is like, what did people do and in what circumstances? And that makes it a little bit more likely that it will go to trial. The worst case scenario I think here is that the Internet Archive gets slapped with enough cash money. They need to cough up enough cash money that it is actually harmful to their, like, existence. And I don't think that's gonna happen, but, you know, that would suck.
Yeah, that would be really bad.
Whose side are you on here?
I don't know. I mean, I think that the answer is that the judge says, hey, you can't do the pandemic unlimited lending thing, but also you're a nonprofit who was trying to help people, like, have access to information during an unprecedented moment in American history. What if, not even just American history, during an unprecedented moment in history? So maybe don't do that again, but also, like, you don't have to give money to these massive corporations.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that would make sense. And I also think that fundamentally, lending of ebooks is a little bit broken in the way that it's done right now. So I'm kind of hoping that from this, there's a little bit of clarity on, like, what people should be doing. Hopefully moving to a better model. I don't think that's going to happen. But that being said, okay, so we talked a lot about, like, who you can pirate stuff from. Here's who you shouldn't pirate shit from. Like, living authors who are making money off of their stuff. And you know what you should do instead?
So, you know what a great way is to support living authors who we have decided through the Isabel Kim test of piracy that it's not okay to pirate from?
Follow me on Twitter. I made that joke before. I still think it's funny.
Yes, follow Isabel on Twitter. That's how you can support living authors. But no, so I love listening to audiobooks, and I don't want to use a service like Audible because I think that Amazon is a bad company that is horrible to its workers, and I don't want to give them more money than I have to. But Libro FM is essentially the same idea as Audible. You can buy audiobooks, you have a monthly subscription, you get credits to get audiobooks, it's a fun time, except instead of giving money to Daddy Bezos, you're giving money
say
to...
other things. Why did you have to say it like that?
Don't worry about it. Instead of giving money to Jeff Bezos, you are giving money to independent bookstores, and you can choose an independent bookstore in your neighborhood, so you're putting money directly back into your community bookstore. Super fun. And with Wow If True, as a listener, you get a special offer. Isn't that so cool? I'm just like I'm going really hard on this ad read. For the price of one audiobook, which is $15 a month, you get a credit to apply to any Libro FM audiobook. If you sign up with the code WOW, as in Wow If True, but just WOW, then your first month you get 2 audiobooks for the price of one. Great deal. Free books. That's a good way to get a free book, not pirating, unless if the author is a turf, a textbook, or dead. The offer is only valid for new Libro FM members in Canada and the US, but I personally, I genuinely use Libro FM, and I love it, and I love audiobooks, because you can listen to them when you're doing stuff like chores, or, going on a walk, or whatever. Book recommendations. Isabel, quick, go. Book you've read recently that you like.
Recently, I've read Son of a Trickster by Eden Robinson, which is a book that actually our audio editor recommended to me 2 years ago that I finally got around to reading. It fucks and vibes, and I feel like if I explain what it's about, it will probably spoil it, but it's kind of like an indigenous magical realism thing, but it's not really magical realism as it is just a guy really going through it. This guy is going through it. I love books where people just go through it. Anyway, what have you been reading, Amanda?
So I recommended this to you already, so maybe in 2 years you'll read this, how you read Allison's recommendation, but I just read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I actually read it on Libro FM, and I loved this book. It's about, friendship and artistic collaboration and video games as art, because the two main characters are lifelong best friends with a bit of a tumultuous friendship, but ultimately they love each other, but as friends, and they are video game designers, and they design video games. They're video game designers.
You're really selling this. You're really selling this book.
But I don't know, it's whether you like video games or you like stories that are super well written with really compelling characters, or if you like stories of friendship and collaboration, like me and Isabel's friendship and collaboration. I fucking loved this book. Promo code WOW, get 2 audiobooks for the price of 1 with your first month of membership. Wow!
And hey, we just recommended 2 books to you. There's 2 of us. You could get 2 books. Funny how that works out. Okay, we don't care about books anymore. Fuck books. What else are we talking about?
We're talking about the complete opposite of books, which is pink sauce.
I thought you were gonna say the complete opposite of books, which is TikTok, which would have also been accurate.
In the alternate universe in which Isabel remembered to hit record when we tried to make this episode this morning, I had instructed Isabel to not consume any media about pink sauce, not to learn what it is, so that I could explain it to her live on the podcast.
Unfortunately.
Now you know everything about it because we recorded the podcast, but I will say that in the initial recording, I really think the only thing that shocked you was the exploding packages bit.
I think the exploding packages and the inclusion of milk were what surprised me. I think everything else, I was kind of like, this tracks for something that went viral and people were insane about on the internet. That didn't actually matter that much.
So I'm really gonna try to do this quickly. Really gonna try to not get too deep here. But there's so much to learn about pink sauce. This is just a classic internet example of something so mundane and so specific that everybody just loses their minds over. And it's almost, in a way, a little bit similar to, the Internet Archive reaction, where it's there's not really 2 sides here, but you could argue that there's 2 sides, because it's is this somebody who is perpetuating a huge scam? Or is this someone who just really fucked up and now it sucks that she's, getting supremely bullied? Mm-hmm. So, our main character here is Carly P., known as Chef P. She is a Black single mom in Miami. She has 2 kids. She is, girl boss, parentheses, appreciative. She's a private chef. She's trying to just, make a living, take care of her kids, normal people stuff. But then she started doing not normal people stuff, and then it became harder to give her the benefit of the doubt. The first not normal people thing was eating a vibrant pink sauce.
Sorry, this is a total aside, but when you said vibrant pink sauce, see, this is special episode 2 record content, because I didn't think about this the first time, but I finally remembered what this reminded me of. Do you remember Tubby Custard GIF? Or Tubby Custard in general? Into Teletubbies.
No.
Wait,
no.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna send this to you. I'm sorry to slow your roll, but I do think it's important that you know about this.
Oh, yeah, that is pink. That's
yeah, right?
Exactly it.
It looks like Tubby Custard.
It really does. Oh, man. So, basically, she was making these TikTok videos. She had, less than 1,000 followers when this all started about a month ago. And it was just videos of her eating, Popeyes or Taco Bell or McDonald's, but then putting her own personal pink sauce on it and being damn, this is good. You gotta try this pink sauce. Mm-hmm. And then people would be like, well, what is it? What's in it? What does it taste like? And she was like, I'm not going to tell you what's in it, and I'm not going to tell you what it tastes like. And that was fine until she decided she was going to start selling it. And then people were like, hey, that's illegal. You can't sell a food product and not tell people what's in it. Mm-hmm. So then she had to show her cards. So she released a nutrition fact label. Also, this is my attempt at explaining legal stuff, but from my brief research, basically different sized food operations have different rules that they have to follow when selling food. If you are Lay's potato chips, you're a huge mass-produced brand. You have to adhere to really high standards. But then if you are a cottage food person, which that means like person in their kitchen making honey or something, then there are fewer regulations. And then like the rest of American law, it's confusing because sometimes you don't know whether state law or federal law applies, especially in the case of like sending something you make in one state to another state. So, according to federal law, I believe she had to make a nutrition label, but according to Florida cottage food law, I don't think this sauce would have been good because it had to be like something like honey or like hot sauce that's like easily non-perishable and like pretty unlikely to harm somebody. But so she puts out this nutrition facts label, and to start off, like the servings and the serving size is just totally off. Like it says there's supposed to be 444 servings in a container. When you do the math, that just does not mathematically add up. So then you're like, okay, well, how do I know like what the correct nutrition facts are? So that's a problem if you're selling food. And then the other problem, I'm going to read you the ingredients. Tell me the problems. Water is the first ingredient, then sunflower seed oil.
Fine.
Then raw honey.
Fine.
Distilled vinegar.
Vinegar.
Not vinegar. Vinegar.
Vinegar. Okay. I'm starting to connect the dots on what the issues are here.
Yes. Then garlic.
That's sure. Like raw garlic.
Sure. I mean, it just says garlic. Who knows?
Garlic. Okay, sure. Garlic. Whatever.
Pitaya, which is the fruit. Pitaya can also be called dragon fruit. It's really, really bright pink, so that's the big reveal of what makes the sauce so vibrantly pink if it's not artificial, because she was like, no, it's all natural. This has health benefits, which also, like, how can you argue it has health benefits? Like, it's like, that's a whole other claim. That's another whole thing.
I mean, it's got raw honey and dragon fruit. Like, what more do you need?
Yeah, I mean, the number one ingredient is water, and we all need to hydrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pitaya. And then, this is my favorite ingredient on the list, pink Himalayan sea salt.
Committing to the bit.
Just like,
I support this.
Yeah, like, you could have just used salt, but nah, you went with pink Himalayan pink salt. Honestly, I'm here for it. Like, good for you. Good choice. And then, less than 2% of dried spices, lemon juice, citric acid, and milk!
Milk. Yeah, okay, I was shocked the first time you said this. I am still shocked. What the fuck?
I know. And so this is a product that is being put into like a plastic squeeze bottle and then shipped non-refrigerated to people. And it allegedly has a fresh fruit and milk in it.
That is so concerning because of the fact that it is 96 degrees out currently.
Yeah, I mean, in between our first recording and now, I had a softball game in the 96 degree weather and truly, like, almost passed out, not gonna lie.
Yeah, so, like, what is it doing to the pink sauce? That's horrifying.
People were already like, this is weird. There's milk in it. Before that, you wouldn't tell anybody what it is. We don't know if you're making this in a food facility or like in your kitchen. Like, there's just so many variables. We don't know what's going on. Why would anyone buy this? But of course, because it's TikTok and people are people.
Because bitches love to get food poisoning. Hot girls have stomach problems.
Hot girls have stomach problems, and hot girls love the color pink. That's me. I'm hot girls. I love pink, and I have trouble digesting dairy sometimes.
So have you bought the pink sauce?
Well, no, because the pink sauce is $20.
Yeah, okay, that's the other thing. It's $20 for this sauce.
And both of us have purchased the Fly by Jing chili crisp, which is like $15. But that's good shit.
Yeah, like, that's good. It's made in a commercial kitchen. It has an ingredients list that makes fucking sense.
It's good shit, and it lasts for a long time. It's a great thing to just have in your cooking repertoire. However, people were already like, what the fuck? But then she sends out the first batch of orders, and she sends them in plastic mailers. And because it is 96 degrees, they explode. So then people get packages, and it's like exploded pink sauce. And of course it smells like shit because it exploded. And it allegedly has milk in it.
Right. Because, God, that's insane.
And I mean, just generally, like, any food, if you put it in the heat for a long period of time, it's gonna smell like shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened, and then people were like, holy shit, this pink sauce is insane. And then I think from there, like, it blew up literally, but then it also, like, blew up on TikTok. To give credit to our girl Chef P, she did offer to give people another pink sauce same day delivery. But also, like, damn, it's like, at that point, like, I don't want the pink sauce anymore. Like, get this away from me. And so then it just sort of became this whole thing where everybody on the internet was dogpiling on her about the exploded packages, the label problems, whether or not she was actually using milk. And then after, like, days and weeks of just Chef P getting her ass handed to her by every single person on TikTok, she went live on YouTube and TikTok. And so she started selling the pink sauce in boxes, which were pink.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good lesson learned.
Yes.
She admitted that she fucked up the nutrition label and was reprinting it. That's also...
How did she not get the vinegar, though? Like, come on, like, at least read your nutrition label.
I don't know. I mean, also, like, she's supposed to be sending out another shipment tomorrow, and I'm on the website right now, and the old label is still there, but whatever. She's still selling these. That's fucking insane. She said that the pitaya and the milk were powdered, which that is legit, like, in something like mayo, the reason why it is shelf stable is because they're using, like, dried, powdered whatever instead of actual milk or mayo or whatever. So that kind of clears things up, but there's just still so much weird about this. Like, for example, like, multiple people were showing their pink sauce in different colors. And Chef P was like, oh, it's just the lighting. But it's a little too much for lighting.
Do you think that this was all deliberately malicious, or was she just stupid?
I really think she was just stupid. But I also wonder if, like, I think I have a problem in life, which is that I am too willing to see the good in people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if I'm being too easy on her. But she fucked up so many times. But also, some people just aren't good at running a business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. And people make mistakes in business, but she made mistakes extremely publicly, going viral on TikTok and becoming the main character of the internet literally all week.
I mean, I feel like what happened here is, like, you know that thing where if you're making a mistake and it's a fuck that mistake, but there's a small enough group, it doesn't matter that much and you can learn and grow from it, and especially if you're a small business. I feel like that's the thing about, like, TikTok and stuff like that, where if, like, you're going viral on the internet, you never have that leeway. Yeah,
and she literally said that. She was like, other businesses get to make mistakes in private, but I didn't have that opportunity. And I think she's right about that. And, like, I do feel bad, but I don't know. I mean, some people are very quick to be like, she's a scammer. And I also think part of that is because there's so much misinformation about anything going viral on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And especially because this is something that people were, like, memeing. A lot of people made memes that then kind of got sucked into the generally accepted knowledge about pink sauce. Like, people made memes that had no evidence, being like, I went to the hospital because of pink sauce. And, like, there was no evidence. It was like, there's a meme format where you take a picture of a hospital bed and then, or not a hospital bed, it's like the
like waiting room
machinery.
Yeah.
And then you have the caption, like, new One Direction single just dropped, and then it's like you're in the hospital. That was a really bad example because One Direction is broken up, RIP. But, so somebody posted that meme format and then said, in the hospital because of pink sauce. And then that went viral, and then everybody was like, oh my god, people that are eating the pink sauce are going to the hospital.
I think this is a perfect storm in the same way that the Elizabeth Holmes stuff was a perfect storm of, like, how, like, industries where you actually need to give a shit about people's health and people getting in way over their head.
Yeah, I mean, it is similar, but on a much smaller scale, of course.
Like, obviously, like, this one matters much less, but the vibes.
It's almost like meta in a way, because it's like, why do people care about this so much? even like looking back a couple days out of the hoopla, I'm like, why did I write an 1,800-word article about this? Like, why do people care? But I think people care because it is just sort of a microcosm of like all of the ways that we engage with each other on the internet, where like there's a misinformation problem, there's like a bullying problem. Are people dunking on her more because they're predisposed to not believe in a Black woman in business? Maybe, or maybe she just made a lot of bad choices. Who can say? Race and gender probably play a role here, but also
it was exploding. It was exploding in the mail.
I mean, people are generally nicer to white men on the internet, but also, like, it exploded in the mail.
I actually think that if a white man had been doing it and it had exploded in the mail, we would probably be dunking on him harder. I actually think that we specifically have more sympathy to her because she is not a white man. Whereas, like, if a boy did this, I'd be like, oh, just another horrible startup by a man, and maybe I'm just full of misandry.
I think it would be more funny if it was a white man, because, I mean, yeah, but I think that's, like, us in specific, and, like, the communities on the internet that we're in, but I feel like the internet at large is sexist and racist.
You know what we should do? We should create a psyop where we create, like, a white man Sona, and then just absolutely horribly, like, you know, do a grift and see how the internet treats us. This is how WoW True goes viral on the internet.
We can make blue sauce with butterfly pea.
Oh, hell yeah. Color-changing blue sauce.
Oh, also,
people go fucking nuts for that.
I must clarify, when I say butterfly pea, I mean butterfly PEA, which is like a tea, and it's very vibrantly blue. Like, I've seen people use it to make blue rice. I don't know.
I love that you felt like you needed to clarify that, and you probably did, but also you were very earnest about it, and that made me laugh.
I feel like I've talked about butterfly pea before, and people have been like, a butterfly peed? You're telling me a butterfly peed in this sauce? So, no, that's how we get canceled, is that we have to explain to the internet what butterfly pea is, and then people think that we're selling them butterfly piss.
You know, some people are into that, and on that note...
just pink sauce, absolutely insane situation. Just, we'll see how it unfolds, because she's still doing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, do you think she's going to end up doing extremely well because of all the traction, or do you think she's gonna end up crashing and burning? Because I could see this going either way, where in the future it could be like, oh, she gained a lot of traction from this, and the sauce had no problems going forward, and this actually created a boost of publicity that most small businesses don't receive. On the other hand, I could see it just being like, yeah, the pink sauce causes cancer.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I think it could really go either way. And I think that's also what's going to be so interesting to see about this, is because people are still buying the pink sauce. Like, even if they're buying it for the bit, they're still buying it.
Yeah, that's
but
still
also,
a sale.
The attention span of the internet is so short that, like, how long are we still gonna care about what Chef P is doing? Are we gonna see her losing followers because people lose interest? But she went from 1,000 followers to over 100,000 in a month, and that's insane.
Yeah, Well, check back in next month to see what happened with the pink sauce, I guess.
I also think that this is a cultural moment when people are more aware of, like, people on TikTok selling food like sunflower seed soup, and just understanding, hey, maybe you don't buy food from strangers on TikTok, but also we're coming off of another girl boss catastrophe in which Daily Harvest, which is a vegan food delivery service, sent out a lentil product that caused a guy to get his gallbladder removed and made a ton of other people very sick and had to go to the hospital. So, like, that's horrifying.
So, in conclusion, I think we should all be more worried about food safety on the internet.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's coming from you, somebody who makes Baja Blast pie.
Yeah, okay, but, like, it was perfectly food-safe Baja Blast pie. It just sucked as a concept and also in its taste.
You're so right. Something that's really interesting about pink sauce is that even though it's this one lady in Miami, it affected, like, the entire internet. But I also love niche community drama that happens on the internet but affects a very niche, like, neighborhood or a very niche community. And so this week, Callan Rosenblatt, who is an internet culture reporter at NBC News, I met her at VidCon. She was cool. She had really good outfits. She posted, "Guys, would you like to hear about the drama going on in the Upper East Side French Bulldog community?"
The Upper East Side French Bulldog community. That is the most specific community on the face of the planet.
So basically, Callan has a Frenchie named Nacho. And every Sunday, once a week, there is a 1-hour meetup for other Frenchies on the Upper East Side. This is just something that one person in the community does by herself. And, like, it's, like, that's beautiful. It's really fun when people go out of their way to form IRL communities in their neighborhood. However, someone got mad because apparently this dog park is, like, pretty small, and there's, like, 15 to 20 bulldogs that come to this 1-hour thing once a week, but the park is a little small, and so somebody made an Instagram account called Stop the Meetups.
That's, like, a lot of effort to go to for this.
Yeah, and they just, like, went really hard, and they were like, hey, this park is subjected to 30-plus Frenchies, plus their owners during high-traffic times. The dogs are all over the 25-pound limit for the park, and other breeds end up not being able to use it, and this is against New York City park rules.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like a math problem.
It does, but, like, okay, so the thing is, like, I see both sides, but also, like, I could get being annoyed about so many Frenchies being in the park.
Why don't you just, like, not go to the park during that hour?
Yeah, but imagine being so mad about it that you make an Instagram account. There's just a huge thread of, like, all the drama. There's a bunch of pictures of French bulldogs. I honestly recommend reading this thread. It's pretty funny. I don't know. I love, like, niche local internet drama, but turns out that the person who made the account is deleting it. I don't think Callan meant any harm, but unfortunately, because this went moderately viral, it got 75,000 likes on Twitter.
Holy shit.
Like this, like, went further than I think Callan intended. And of course, then people apparently, like, people are bound to, like, bully this Move the Meetups person who was totally anonymous anyway, but, like, it just turns into a whole situation, and now the Move the Meetups person, like, closed their Instagram. But, like, honestly, just, like, let the Bulldog meetup happen. Like, who cares? It's fun. It's, like, I don't know.
You
like,
know
what
what's
do you
interesting
think?
is that, like, we're talking about this, even though it's, like, the nichest of niche community drama in, like, the Upper East Side of New York City. And the fact that, like, we are talking about this right now, and the fact that, like, everybody, like, it is no longer their problem. It is now, as the internet, our problem. And that's probably not great. I don't think that's good for our culture.
But 75,000 people care.
That's probably not great for our culture. I think this is what's wrong with the internet.
But also, I'm one of the 75,000 people that was like, oh man, I want to read this French Bulldog drama. Like, this is really something.
You know, I think what this sort of thing plays into, and I mean this, like, with love, is that, like, people fucking love gossip, and people love drama that is not their own drama. Mm-hmm. And I think the internet has given us new and exciting ways to learn about drama.
Yeah.
Like, the appeal of this is the same as the appeal of, like, watching the Kardashians, I think.
I do watch the Kardashians, but also it's the same as Pink Sauce, because it's like, people want to be heroes, and it's a very self-righteous thing to be like, I, random TikTok user, am going to expose this potential scammer for her pink sauce. It's like, people are only as powerful as the attention we give them. And I did think about that when deciding whether or not to write about pink sauce. Like, am I giving somebody who there is a chance might be harming people more airtime? But I also think there's value in looking at why these things go viral and why it matters that they go viral and why the conversations around them matter and what it says about society that we're so obsessed with both the Upper East Side French Bulldog community and pink sauce.
I was gonna say it's just you that's obsessed with the Upper East Side French Bulldog community, but it's not. It's you and 75,000
It's 75,000 people!
Do you want to know my most toxic trait? Do you want to know what's going to get me canceled from the internet?
Is that you don't care about the Upper East Side French Bulldog community?
Yeah, exactly that. No, like, unironically, this is one of the weirder things that I have to do to, like, live my normal life. I'm dead serious about this, by the way. I'm completely neutral on dogs. As a person, I have no real strong feelings about them, but people get so sad if you're not excited about their dogs. So I have to, like, feign enthusiasm for a dog, like, every single day of my life, and it is the weirdest lie I tell.
Yes, we have talked about this on the podcast that I hate doggo culture. Mm-hmm. I like dogs. Like, I feel more positively toward dogs than you do if you're neutral. Like, I like dogs. But I really hate this whole, like, doggo, pupperoni situation. It's just, like...
extremely chuggy.
How did... Yeah, like, I feel like we got to a point on the internet maybe like 4 years ago or so where it became okay if your entire personality is that you like dogs, and it's just not that interesting. Like, it doesn't tell me anything about you if you're like, I love dogs.
Yeah, like, I feel like liking dogs is the new liking bacon.
It is, which is the new mustache.
What's gonna be next, do you think? I feel like it might have been liking cats, because, like, if, like, ICANN has cheeseburger, but, like, that's a different, like, phenomenon.
Okay, I mean, I'm in group chats where people are just like, here's 20 cat memes, and I'm like, I don't have a cat, I like cats, but like, okay. Like, I think people think that, like, pets break the rules of the internet. Like, normally it's not socially acceptable to, like, quadruple text a billion things, even though I do that, but like, people just really want to share dog and cat content. I don't know. I mean, this podcast, we're taking a hard stance against doggo culture. We're gonna get canceled for hating doggos, and you know what? We're right. I don't hate dogs, I hate doggos.
Yeah, doggo culture is bad, dogs are fine. I'm actually aggressively neutral about dogs in a way. Okay, but if it does feel like in the current internet, you cannot be neutral about dogs without coming across as a sociopath. And I'm just kind of like, it's fine, I don't care, I'm sorry.
I'm here to validate you, Isabel. It is okay to be neutral about dogs, and, like, people need to stop being like, oh, the doggos and puppers. Like, it's over, stop.
I love this because it's like, I feel like you're usually on the side of things that are chuggy, and in this case, you're like, absolutely fucking not.
No, this is chuggy derogatory. Like, this is like, this is in the same category as, like, cursive live, laugh, love signs, except cursive live, laugh, love signs I think are very funny, but doggo culture, I'm just like, it's okay if you like dogs. Is that the most interesting thing about you as a person? Probably not. I think we're a bit angry right now. So on that note, we have to get out of here.
No, yo, we spent like the entire episode being pretty neutral about things. Like, we were talking about situations where people have hardline stances, where we were both kind of like, yeah, so this is what's happening and this is what's interesting about it. But this fucking doggo culture? We're on the side of probably evil. And on that note, if you like this episode, tell a friend. Word of mouth is how we grow. Thank you to all of our patrons, and shout out specifically to Zoe, Bray, Andre, Theo, Brian, and Gabriel. If you want your name in the above or in our Twitter header, slide right into our Patreon at patreon.com/wowtrue. Shout out to Allison Mills, beloved audio editor, and to graphic designer and Canva warlock Eric Silver, who made our logo, and to Sam Rizer, who made our podcast music. You can find us on Twitter as @wowtruepod and Instagram and Facebook as @wowtrue. Had your 15 seconds of internet fame? Have you tried the pig sauce? Seriously, if you have, slide right into our Twitter DMs and tell us about it. And until next time, let's get weird on the internet.